Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday, it is August 10th, it's 2020, and we have 9 baseball games to talk about here on today's slate. Coming out of the bullpen hot, my buddy Blenderhd. How you doing, my friend?
Good. The weekend wasn't great. I mean, all the guys that won in MMA were the guys I didn't have, so that wasn't good. I said I'll take Saturday off from baseball and play some MMA, and the MMA is like one punch, anything can happen. So, but I mean, it's good for GPPs, but it just didn't work out for me.
Listen, you should have played NASCAR. You would have made all your MMA money back. It was a good weekend in NASCAR.
Anything. I don't like even making left turns when I drive.
It would have been a perfect weekend for you though, because if you just played the projections, you would have crushed. So like,
no, but I don't. I played I played the leverage game. I played the ownership game. I would have been dead.
You would have had a bad weekend. The guy that was 50% owned dominated the race, so it wouldn't have been good for you then. So you made the right decision by
okay, so good. But
playing.
I mean, your projections are great. So I mean, from that perspective. But typically, I look and they go, "Oh, how do I fade the 50% owned guy?" Right, and that would have done well.
It's so different in NASCAR than it is in other sports, in my opinion. I've said this so many times. Like the 50% owned in NASCAR, most of the time is going to crush. I guess it's still those few times that he doesn't, but
similar to NBA. So I mean, I play more chalky in NBA because the variance is lower.
Yeah, well, variance.
I need to play the
NASCAR,
restrictor plate races.
Yes,
those are the ones I need to play.
And
the ones where like 15 people get knocked out in 8 minutes into the race.
You can play the road course that's coming up this weekend that none of these drivers have ever raced on before, and they're not practicing or anything. It's gonna be like, here's the green flag, go learn the track. So, it's gonna be very interesting to see how this weekend goes. But we're here to talk some baseball. Let's talk some baseball. Cardinals Pirates postponed series. Cardinals still dealing with COVID. Trying to get that under control. Keep wishing those guys the best and speedy recoveries. But we get started here. White Sox to Tigers. Dallas Keuchel against Fulmer, and then Fulmer's supposed to be opening for Daniel Norris. What's your thoughts here on Dallas Keuchel?
I think he's one of the top pitching plays on the slate. The Tigers strike out a ton. I know I've been using them as a vomit stack for the past couple of days. But, I mean, the forecast is that the wind may be blowing in at like 10, 12 miles an hour. Detroit, I mean, they have a 4.3 implied run total. They're cheap stacks. So, I mean, vomit stack-wise, I would like to play them, but I typically don't like targeting Keuchel because he's a ground ball pitcher. Yes, he'll get some strikeouts, but I don't think pitching is that great on this slate. That's 7,800 for Keuchel. If he could give me 16 points, I think I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't ever play Keuchel, ever. But this is a slate where he's playable because you look at the Detroit hitters and, like, none of them are fly ball hitters. So we got a ground ball pitcher going up against a team that hits a ton of ground balls. Like, he's going to be able to throw, like, 6 or 7 clean innings in this game and put up 20-plus fantasy points at 7,800 without striking out a ton of people. Don't look at the Milwaukee start. You can't look into him making all those guys strike out and stuff, but this is a spot where he's just not facing a bunch of good hitters. And if he can get around like CJ Cron and Scope and Miguel Cabrera, he should do really well here. So I like him, but it's more of the slate than anything else.
Yeah. And on the other side, Fulmer, Norris, whoever, the Tigers bullpen, I don't want any part of.
No, I'm going to pass. I'm with you. It's not like these guys are like 4K either. They're still kind of a little pricey. Like, give me like a Justin Dunn or somebody if I'm gonna full on punt or something. So let's talk bats. We're gonna see a righty start this game and then a lefty come in. That's interesting because you got Jimenez, you got Abreu, you got some of these power righties that like don't get the platoon to start. What are your thoughts here when it comes to the White Sox?
I think in comparison to the rest of the slate, they currently have a 5.3 implied run total. They're not going to be popular at these prices. On DraftKings, Abreu is 5,200. If Encarnacion is back in the lineup, he's cheaper at 3,800. Obviously, you can't play them both together on DraftKings. FanDuel, you can. Grandal doesn't matter what side of the plate. So he's a switch hitter, but he's 4,700. Like, this stack is expensive, and it's more expensive than we'll get to the DraftKings not forgetting that the Diamondbacks are in Coors Field, because that's going to be the chalk on this slate. But I think if you're not going to play Coors, like most people are going to gravitate towards cheaper stacks, but with the 5+ implied run total against the Tigers and their bad bullpen, like I have no problem. I mean, one-off's great. I mean, I have no problem with one-offs completely, but I think the stack as a whole is going to be much lower owned than it probably should be. If the Diamondbacks were priced up for Coors, like $5K a piece, then it'd be a different story. But I think that it's so much of the ownership is going to go there that if I could get these guys at under 10% on a 9-game slate, like give me 5 of them.
Yeah, I think they're super interesting on the slate. Daniel Norris, he's not someone that's going to go blow the ball by you. Fulmer is not going to pitch deep enough where I really have to like be concerned about him. So, and the Detroit bullpen is garbage. So, I think that this is a spot of the White Sox, like even like as a secondary stack, they're in play too, because like they just open up. They have so many positions that you can play. You can play like James Mechanic, catcher. If you don't want to play Grandal, like E5 was dealing with a shoulder injury, so like I'm gonna need to see him come back and be okay before I start playing him. But like if Robert's gonna hit down in the lineup because it's a right-handed pitcher to start, like he's another guy that I like. So I think these guys are super interesting here. And as far as the Tigers go, I'll let you dig into the Tigers first here. What do you like here for Detroit?
I mean, look how cheap they are. I mean, come on. I mean, Candelario is 2,400. Reyes is 3,100. Romine's under 3K. I mean, everyone's under 4K. They fill all the positions that you need in the infield. The problem is that if you play Detroit, that means you're not playing Keuchel. And then it's like, who the hell am I playing a pitcher then? So I could see a vomit leverage stack if Keuchel ends up getting to be like 30% owned. But Keuchel's also not the type of pitcher that gets blown up. So even though you may get the stack at 15K total, which is like totally vomit, like I still need the Tigers to put up like 7 or 8 runs for me to win a large field GPP. I'd almost rather just play Keuchel than play the Tigers, which, if I'm not playing vomit Tigers, that means you probably shouldn't either.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, like, just overall what this lineup looks like. Jacoby Jones got hurt over the weekend, so, like, he might not be in there. So it'd be interesting, but, like, I think CJ Cron is in play as a one-off. At 3,100, a guy that has plenty of power. You're not really sacrificing a lot when you're playing CJ Cron at first base. So I could see CJ Cron being someone that, like, I end up playing as a one-off, maybe even on Keuchel teams. So I'm crazy, so don't mind me. Moving on, we got the Nationals and the Mets. Patrick Corbin against Steven Matz. Any interest here in Patrick Corbin?
I mean, he's strikeout upside. He's 10.4K. We have enough value bats on this slate that you can pay for him. I don't mind him against the Mets. They're playing in Citi Field, so that's fine. Is he someone that I need to have as the ace? No. But if I'm playing a cheaper stack, then give me Corbin and a strikeout upside.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Like, if you want to try to get different, I think he's going to be really popular on this slate. Maybe he's not. Maybe like people go Keuchel, Dominic, or something like that. 2 mid-tier guys. But I think Corbin, there's a couple factors here. Like, I want to look at weather edge because it's supposed to be super hot. So I want to see how like that's going to affect like past games. And, I just kind of want to see what projected ownership looks like on him. If he's going to be like super chalky, Patrick Corbin as super chalk is someone I never want to play. But if he's going to be a guy that's going to kind of go under the radar here because he's the most expensive pitcher by a large margin on this slate, I think he's super interesting. On the other side, we got Steven Matz. When you look up and down this Washington lineup, there's just not a lot of strikeouts, outside of maybe like Harrison towards the bottom. But a lot of these right-handed batters put the ball in play. Any interest here in Matz?
No, I'm more interested in the Nationals bats.
Yeah, I like the Nationals a lot here too. I think they are super interesting in this spot. So let's talk bats. Obviously Castro's, Hendrick, these guys are cheaper guys. Suzuki, cheaper guys like that have power against lefties. Full on stack, secondary stack. What are you looking at here when it comes to Washington?
Well, I think this is the case of I'm looking at this slate, the context of this slate of that Arizona is going to be chalky. Minnesota may be chalky also. We may get to another team that may be a little bit chalky as well. And they're in similar price ranges. So, yes, I'm not a big fan of paying $5,000 for Soto, lefty, but his ownership is going to reflect that. So in a full stack, like playing Turner and Soto in this 5-man will give you the same type of price that you get in Arizona stack, but you'll get it at no ownership. Yeah, Castro may be owned at second base at 3,500. Kendrick may get some ownership at first base at 4,000. Maybe Suzuki a little or something like that, but I think the full 5-man is just not going to be owned enough. Not saying I'm putting it in 1,000,000% of my lineups, but I'm looking the same way as the White Sox. I'm looking for similarly priced stacks as Arizona that are going to go significantly under-owned because people are going to look at that and go, why do I pay that price when I could just get the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, it's a super interesting point. I'm with you. I think Arizona's going to be massive chalk. We'll get to them here in a few games, but they're going to be super popular. They're not really priced like they're playing in cores, and they're facing a righty, and most of the bats that you want are lefty. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think they're going to be popular. As far as like the Mets go, the Mets are kind of an interesting like secondary stack for me, especially if Corbin starts reaching like higher ownership here because JD Davis has plenty of power against lefties. Pete Alonso has plenty of power against lefties. And for some reason, like Michael Conforto is popping in my model. Like he projects like his batted ball profile wise, lefty. He actually profiles really well against Patrick Corbin.
Last time I was on Morning Grind, it was the Mets against Corbin. And I said I didn't mind the power lefties. Conforto's 3,500. If Conforto was 4,700 or something like he would normally be or whatever, then I have, okay, fine. You don't play him. But I have no problem with McNeil. I have no problem with Conforto. I have no problem with Dominic Smith. I probably don't play a Mets stack against Corbin, but I don't mind the one-offs. I don't mind a two-man. It doesn't have to be Alonso. As long as they have power, that's all I care about. I'm not going to play Brandon Nimmo. I guess he has some power at 2,900, but like I'm more inclined to just play the power bats against Corbin because Corbin could still do well and give up 2 home runs. So let me find those 2 home runs rather than try to stack 5 guys in the Mets and hope that Corbin gets blown up. It's a leverage stack, sure. I just think it's a lower probability.
Yeah, I think it would be more like a 3-man Alonso Conforto Ramos or Alonso Conforto Davis or something along those lines. Like just chasing, and like Ramos is super cheap and like he's a catcher, so like that instantly stood out to me. I like cheap catchers. He's under 3K, but I don't know if we're gonna like need it necessarily on this slate too much because a lot of the pitching options are like mid-tier pitchers. So we'll see. Rays and Red Sox, Ryan Yarbrough against Martin Perez. Any interest here in Yarbrough?
Against the Red Sox, probably not in Fenway, but I mean it's not really a horrible choice, but I mean the Red Sox have been striking out a lot. There are more strikeouts in this lineup than people think there are. So I think Yarbrough does have upside at 7,200. He's not going to get owned. People don't like taking pitchers against the Red Sox, especially at Fenway. But I don't think it's out of the question to play.
Yeah, I think we got to find somebody in like the 7K range that is not Keuchel and Davenek, or like even like I think McCullers might get some ownership too. We'll see, but I think when I'm looking overall here, I don't hate Yarbrough. I know the Red Sox can strike out, but I also know they have some really good bats against lefties too. So like if I'm playing him, I'm probably going to have a stack on the other side as well. So Martin Perez, like he pitches 2 ground balls. He doesn't go out there and strike a ton of people out. There is just so many strikeouts in this Tampa lineup. Like, can we make an argument for Perez on this slate?
No, but I'm going to make an argument that the stack against him is my favorite of the whole slate.
Oh, so they're saying Colton Brewer is going to – they're only going to let Perez open in this game, and Colton Brewer is going to pitch.
It's a Boston bullpen game. How do you not play the Rays against them? Their bullpen's horrible.
Oh, man. Yeah, Colton Brewer, he is a prospect. Don't get me wrong. But like it's not like he's like this lights out prospect. He's really struggled with like command and walks in the minors, especially last season as well. So, like, command is never what I want to hear for a young pitcher. Yeah, like he hasn't pitched deep in games either. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. I think we stack Tampa here instead of play the Red Sox pitchers.
I want them to be low owned. I'm looking at this Rays lineup. I'm looking at these prices outside of Meadows. He's expensive at $5,500. They're playing at Fenway. There's a big ballpark upgrade for these Rays bats. And he got Lowe at 4,600, Diaz 3,300, Choi 3,600, Tsutsugo, Yoshi's 3,300, Adames fills a shortstop spot at 3,400, Renfroe 3,600, Kiermaier, Zunino. Give me all 9 of them. I'll make as many combinations as I want. I'm just hoping that that's not like the chalky stack to go along with Arizona. I'm hoping that Jamino's hamster wheel comes out tomorrow afternoon and I see single digits on these guys. Because if there's single digits on these guys, I could easily see playing them in like a quarter of my lineups.
All right, yeah. No, I think it makes a ton of sense, like looking at the prices. Like, I think if you're stacking Tampa, you have to have Meadows, though, just because he's 5,500 and not a lot of people are going to pay for him. Like, I think you have to play Meadows. With cores on this slate and expensive bats, like, you have to play Meadows. Like, Meadows is more expensive than Devers and JD Martinez on the other side of this game against the lefty. Like, you have to play Meadows if you're stacking Tampa here because he's so expensive. Like, pay up to be contrarian. You have to do that sometimes.
No, I get it. But, I mean, I'm looking at all 9 of – I may make as many combinations. If they had to be chalky, maybe not so much. But on the Red Sox side, like, I'm more inclined to play Yarborough than necessarily playing a Red Sox stack at these prices. I know Verdugo is still cheap. If he leads off even against a lefty, who knows who leads off. Benintendi has like 1 hit in a million at bats. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do there. But, I mean, 5,100 for JD. I know he's against a lefty. Devers, 5,200 lefty. I mean, Bogarts, I guess, at shortstop, 4,500 is decently priced. I'm more likely to play Red Sox as one-offs, if anything. But with the fact that I don't mind playing, if Yarborough ends up at like 5% owned, I may sprinkle in some Yarborough against the Red Sox, who have been striking out a ton.
Yeah, I think like Pilar at 3K could potentially be someone that a lot of people that are stacking cores use as like a one-off. He should bat leadoff here. Leadoff against a lefty. Yarborough's not a guy that is typically like a big strikeout guy. So like a guy like Pilar, who has a very low strikeout rate and a really high contact rate, actually makes a ton of sense here at 3K. So JD Martinez against the lefty, Christian Vasquez, if you want to pay up to be contrarian at catcher, like he crushes left-handed pitching. So you can get a really solid like 3 or 4 or 5 man stack here for Boston, but like you said, it's the pricing. So it really is going to come down to like, is Boston going to be a low owned stack on this slate? And if that happens, I always have interest in Boston as a low owned stack, but I'm also a Red Sox fan, so I like the pain. Let's see. We got Twins and Brewers. Randy Dominic against Adrian Hauser. Dominic is the guy that I think is going to be pretty popular on this slate. We know the Brewers have not been good. This guy has not. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and get blown up. And I think that like kind of fits the build of like if you want to go Corbin Keuchel or Corbin Dominic, I think he's just going to be a guy that goes out and puts up like 17 fantasy points and is popular on the slate because he's not going to get blown up.
I don't know about that. I think there's going to be a more popular pitcher in this range.
Okay.
Or in the mid-range and whatever. We'll get to him. I haven't played Dobnak in any one of his starts. I think it's 7,500. I think he's overpriced. I think it's a run prevention spot. It's a non-GPP spot. If he gives you 11 points, you're happy with it. But for 7,500, it's not going to be me. I think Hauser on the other side is in a similar spot. I think they're just maybe both 1K over. If they're 1K less, I'd have more interest in them. But I mean, it's a bad pitching slate. So if you wanted to play them, sure. I'm more interested in bats this game.
See, that's interesting. I think bats, like I don't love the bats in this game. As far as like the Brewers go, but like Hauser is a guy that I like in general, but I like him against right-handed heavy teams. This team is going to throw 6 or 7 lefties out at him, and that's just too many. You'll see the walk rate goes up, the hard hit rate goes up. The strikeout rate is the same. Like he has strikeout stuff. He throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He mixes in a slider and a sinker. Like he has strikeout stuff, and that's why he's so efficient against righties and struggles more against lefties. So I don't like this spot for Hauser. It's not like I'm gonna like. I don't love the Twins. I don't think like I love the Twins in general, but like Hauser's a good pitcher, and this bullpen is really, really good.
Yeah, but I still think Kepler at 4,600, Polanco 4,400, Rosario 4,400. I think the mid-range, I don't think the stack's going to be really popular with Cruz being 5,600 and Sano 5,100, kind of in the middle of it. Garver 4,800. But I think the one-off bats will be, these are the mid 4K type of fill-ins. It's let the lefties against Hauser in Milwaukee. I don't think they're in a bad spot, and Kepler tends to go over-owned on most slates until he gets up to like 4,800 or 5,000. So, like, I'm not against the Twins bat. I'm actually more interested in the Milwaukee bats.
That's so interesting because, like, I like Dominic more than I like these Brewers bats. Like, you can make a case here, but, like, I feel like anybody that's playing Milwaukee is going to play Hira and Yelich. So, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, but
sell me.
See, here, this is the point. It's not like I love Milwaukee as they're going to go off. They're going to kill Dobnak. I'm talking about in comparison to ownership. Keston Hiura is 200 less than Kettle Marte. Christian Yelich is more expensive than anyone on the Diamondbacks. So, like, they're going to go. Who's going to play them? If you play the stack, you're able to get Avisale. You're able to get the Smoke. You could get Morrison at first base really cheap. Narvaez is still a left. They've lefties in the lineup against Dobnak. Narvaez is 4,100 as a catcher. You could always throw in Sogard there. I just don't think Milwaukee's going to be owned. If you tell me they're going to be owned, then I'm gone. Fine, I'd rather play Dobnak. I just don't see the Milwaukee. I think the Milwaukee stack is 3% owned. Who's because you're going to have to play. You're probably going to have to play Hira and Yelich, which is more expensive than Coors. And then who plays that stack? It just. From a positional and price perspective, like they can't be popular if Coors is going to be popular. So that's the running theme that I'm trying to see on this show is that I'm not going to not play the Diamondbacks. I'm just trying to find Diamondbacks like projected price and ownership much less that I could play instead of Diamondbacks and then fill in everything else.
Listen, if you're going to stack Milwaukee, do yourself a favor and play Ben Gamel. And I'm not even, like, this isn't a joke. Like, if you look into, like, his X-ISO and X-WOBA and stuff like that, like, he's hitting the ball super hard. So, like, if you're going to stack Milwaukee, if you're gonna pull a Blenderhd and you're going to stack Milwaukee, play Ben Gamel. Of all people, play Ben Gamel.
I'm writing that down. I'm taking down that note because I'm going to remind you of Ben Gamel when we play the morning grind game.
That's fine. Like
he's 3,300. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Like if you're stacking,
if you're gonna have a Ben Gamel take, I'm gonna make sure you stick to it.
No, there wasn't a take whatsoever. I was saying if you're stacking, I like Dominic. I already said that. Like, listen, if he's gonna either strike out or hit the ball hard, so like that's what you're playing in stacks anyway. So. All right, let's talk about it. Diamondbacks, Rockies, Robbie Ray, John Gray. Let's start here with the pitching. Any interest in either one of these guys?
Robbie Ray's 6,300, but he's awful now. Like, and it's in Coors, and he's awful. Like, if you told me like 2 years ago that I'd get Robbie Ray at 6,300, I wouldn't care what ballpark he was in. But I mean, how do you? I'd rather take a shot on Ray than take a shot on Gray, but like this total in this game is what 12. Like, and I don't think you don't have to go there. Like we have enough crappy mid-range pitching that like it's a pure GPP flyer. But like John Gray isn't going to be on. Like the Diamondbacks are going to be so chalky that John Gray is going to be 1% owned.
Hey, John Gray's really changed his approach too. Like he's pitching more to contact right now, trying to generate soft contact and ground balls. Listen, he's the ultimate leverage spot. Arizona is going to be the highest owned team on the slate. John Gray is 7K. Like, he's the ultimate leverage spot, but we have so many options on the slate. I don't think you have to do it. Like, if you're playing 150 teams and you want to build like 5 John Gray teams, I'm not going to talk you out of wasting $20 on doing it. So, it's a 9-game slate, and he's going to be 2% owned. And the stack on the other side is going to be what, 25%, if not more. So, thinking like a leverage, 1% want to win a tournament, like, I think it's a way to do it, but I'm not going to recommend it. Like, he's terrible. Like, what's his upside? 15 points? Like,
Well, see, the problem that I see with that is that it's not that, like, I don't like necessarily getting pitcher leverage in GPPs. I like getting batter leverage because pitching leverage, you get less upside. So let's say, for instance, the Diamondback stack fails, but they still score 4 runs, and John Gray gets 12 points. You get more leverage by just not playing the Diamondbacks and playing a better pitcher than playing John Gray just because the Diamondbacks – you'd have to think John Gray pitches 6 shutout innings. I think that's a very low probability here.
Yeah, like, I don't like leverage with pitchers either unless the stats back it up, and the stats don't back it up here. Like, Arizona is not a team that's going to strike out a lot. They're a team that walks a lot. Like, this mix just doesn't add up to taking John Gray. Let's talk Arizona Bats. They have struggled with overall power on the season, and like, that is my argument for going underweight on them on this slate is, can they beat me scoring 7 with like 1 or 2 home runs?
At these prices, they can.
I know.
They forgot that they were in Coors. I mean, they're priced the same as they were if they were in Arizona. I mean, we have here's the DK pricing. Marte, Kettle Marte, 5,000 at second base. Calhoun, 4,100. Starling is 4,700. Walker, 4,300. Escobar, 3,700. Peralta, 3,900. Kelly, 3,900. Lamb, 2,700, and Ahmed, 3,700. Normally, these prices would be easily 600, 700 more, if not even more than that, with a 5.7 implied run total in Coors Field, and they fill all these positions. So, I mean, like, Escobar at 3,700 in Coors at third base, welcome to the chalk. Welcome to Calhoun chalk at 4,100, batting second, right? Or Peralta, 3,900. Like, all these guys in all this combination, like, maybe Lamb and Ahmed, because even Ahmed's going to be owned at shortstop because that's a weak position. Lamb may be lower owned, even though he's cheaper, only because Walker fills that spot. But, I mean, I can't see the Diamondbacks not being the obvious super chalky team just based on price. They'd be chalk if everyone was 5K, right? Because it's Coors Field. So at these prices, you could build stacks that are like 23K, 22K in Coors for a 5.7 implied run total. So my only argument to not play them is because of ownership, but they're going to project as the best on the slate.
They are going to project as the best. And like I said, John Gray this season, he's just not throwing the ball by anybody right now. Like, could that change? Sure. Does it change in this start? Like, if you're fading Arizona or if you're planning on being underweight on Arizona, then yes. The Rocky side of things, like, these guys are super expensive. So, like, this is the other end of the, spectrum. Like, you have Blackmon at 5,800 and a lefty, Story at 61, Arenado at 63, Dahl at 54. I love Charlie Blackmon in this spot. I love Charlie Black. We don't let Coors be part of the morning grind game, but I would take Charlie Blackmon to hit a home run against Ray in his first 2 at-bats. Like, that's how confident I'm in Charlie Blackmon in this spot.
Okay, I'm not going to go on that journey with you. I'm not going to pay 58. I'll play Yelich over him. But I get it. Ray sucks. I mean, we've seen in the past 2 he's not old Robbie Ray. He's garbage Robbie Ray. So if you think he left back in 2 years' time and he's Robbie Ray again, don't pay these prices for the Rockies. But it looks like Vegas doesn't give Ray any respect either. I mean, the 6.4 implied run total is actually quite low. It probably, if it was Robbie Ray didn't have a name, it'd be higher than that. But these prices are ridiculous. Arenado's 6,300 against a lefty. Okay, I get it. Story 6,100. I mean, you're going to overpay. You're basically paying up to be contrarian. But obviously, in this game, even though the Rockies have the highest implied total, this stack price is so ridiculous. They need to score 10 runs in order for you to make them one-offs. Okay, and they'll be lower owned. Arenado will be lower owned because Escobar is there. Story may be a little bit more owned because shortstop's kind of a weak position. But yeah, like if you want Charlie Blackmon at single-digit ownership or Dahl at single-digit ownership, today's the day.
I'm going to play Blackmon. I really am. Like, I love this spot for him. Robbie Ray is just throwing fastballs this year, too, like, for what it's worth. It's just he's not even, like, trying to attack hitters with, like, his slider. He's throwing, I think I was, like, 65 or 66% fastballs. Like, it's a great spot for the Rockies. They're expensive, but it's a great spot. I haven't even looked at, like, FanDuel. I guess I can look really quick. FanDuel, it's going to be like FanDuel. I think the Rockies will be very, very popular on FanDuel. It's going to be very easy to make them work over there. So, all right, moving on. We got the Mariners and the Rangers. Justin Dunn against Kyle Gibson. Any interest here in Justin Dunn?
I mean, the Texas lineup sucks, but I mean, I'm not going to play Justin Dunn.
Yeah, in this ballpark with the new roof and like it's playing more of a neutral ballpark than a hitter's ballpark like it has for years. I don't really have any interest in Justin Dunn. He can't throw strikes, zero command whatsoever. This team doesn't walk a lot. They're not a very patient team. So, like, if there was a team to play him against, maybe this is the team. Is Gibson the guy that you were talking about that you think is going to be kind of popular in this range?
Yeah, if you don't pay up for Corbin, if you're going to play like a mid-range type of pitching, like if you're going to pay up for a stack, like I think it's going to be like Gibson Keuchel. I think 8,600 against the Mariners in Texas, I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, Gibson has a long enough leash. He has strikeout upside. He's not the sexiest pitcher. No, he's not. But we don't really have sexy pitchers on today's slate. And I don't think Corbin is necessary. So if you're going to build lineups where you need money for bats, I think Gibson is fine as an SB1.
Yeah, I think he's super interesting. I didn't think he'd be chalk, but you know, it makes sense, like, looking at it. Like, people like playing Sean Manaea, and Hauser's been kind of popular, and I think McCullers, but looking at the matchups and everything, I'm hoping that we're wrong. I hope Gibson kind of flies under the radar a little bit, but I like the spot for him a lot. Seattle strikes out a ton. It helps a guy that has a slightly above average strikeout rate. But, yeah, the matchup is just fantastic. This team just strikes out a ton. So, yeah, I like Gibson. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't be too popular here. Seattle Bats. Any interest in the Bats here?
No, I'd rather play a ton of Gibson than play the Mariners. I'm more interested in the Rangers Bats.
Yeah, I think I'm more on the Rangers here, too. You get a guy that struggles with command, get some guys on here, and, you know, solo home runs turn into like 2-3 run home runs. Stacks start equaling the points really fast here. So I think Texas is a team. Like, Texas would probably be massive chalk if Arizona wasn't so popular and this was in the old Texas ballpark.
That's absolutely right. The only problem with Texas on DraftKings is that they're very hard to stack. I'm more likely to play Texas as three-mans because we take a look at their projected lineup. We got Chu in outfield. Solak is second base and outfield eligible, but then you got Odor, who's only second base. Then Gallo and Calhoun are also outfield eligible, Andrus and Frazier. So it's like you're either going to have to fill in all your outfield spots. You're going to have to play two second basemen, essentially. So, like, it's very hard to make this work. You're probably going to have to throw in Andrus or Chirinos just to get a scarce position in. So, like, I would love to stack them if their positional eligibility was better, which I may still have a couple, maybe, anyway. But they have power in this lineup. And if we're going to get walks and then home runs turn into 3-run home runs or turn into 2 RBI doubles and those types of things, like, I don't mind a 3-man out of, like, literally any part of this order. Give me 3, any of these guys, as long as, you know, I get to fill a scarce position. I mean, they all have Chu, Solak, Odor, Gallo, Frazier, Calhoun, Andrus, Chirinos. These guys have power. They may strike out a lot, but I think at these prices, we get into the same thing that I said before. It's going to look like, why play Texas when you could play Arizona and they'll come in lower owned?
Yeah, I think this is a good spot. You know, Gallo, Door, Chu. Like you said, you have to use a lot of outfield, which don't necessarily love. So maybe I end up more 3-man stacking them more than anything else. But I like the spot. I like picking on Justin Dunn. It's a high upside spot. Giants and Astros, Logan Webb, Lance McCullers. Any interest here in Logan Webb?
Against the Astros, no.
Yeah, like he's been actually a little worse against righties since getting called up last season than he has against lefties. This team pretty right-handed heavy. They don't strike out. This is not a good spot for Webb. And then McCullers on the other side, like he has looked bad. Can he dust off the rust a little bit maybe here and throw a better game? Like we have not seen 14 earned runs in 3 starts.
His first start was pretty good, but his last 2 were just ridiculous. I think there'll be a lot of recency bias, which will push down McCullers' ownership, which makes me want to play him more. But looking at the bat, I think the bats in this game go completely overlooked. Who's going to play Mike 5,700 from Yastrzemski, 5,100 for Solano? Like if McCullers is walking the moon, like there's no reason not to play Giants because, they turn into 3-run doubles and 2-run home runs. So if you don't believe in McCullers, if you're going to play 0 McCullers, I think maybe not a Giant stack, but I think you should play some Giants. I think it's this is one of those games where I'm still not decided. I have to see projections. I'm either going to play some McCullers or I'm going to play some Giants because I think both sides are going to be under-owned.
Yeah, like his first start, his velocity was way down, way down. And then like his next 2 starts, the velocity came up a little bit, but he's down like almost 3 miles an hour from where he was at pre-injury in 2018. So I don't know. I don't know if he's fully back yet. That's kind of suggesting that to me. It's only 3 starts. Obviously, we're going to be patiently waiting, but like he's nowhere near like his bad average miles an hour games from like 2017 and 2018. So I think I'm more likely to stack the Giants than play Lance McCullers on this slate. Giants bats, you kind of already touched on them a little bit. I don't think they'll be popular at all, right?
No. I mean, because they all, even Brandon Belt. Like I look at Brandon Belt at 3,700 lefty, like that looks good to me. But I mean, there's other options at first base that people are gonna play because people are gonna look at the name Lance McCullers and go, well, I can't play any bats against him, not realizing that if he's been pitching so horrible that why can't you? So like maybe like this stack is just. Can I get behind a Giant stack that's the same price as Arizona? It fits the bill, but, I mean, that's a tough sell. The Giants are not a good team. So I think I'm more likely to find the cheapies, maybe get rid of Yastrzemski or Solano and play 3-mans of, like, Dickerson, Belt, Longoria, or Sandoval, or Crawford, or, like, some type of thing like that, than think that San Francisco is going to put up, like, 10 runs in Houston.
Yaz has been crushing the ball, but he's so expensive. He's going to be really, really low owned here at 5,700, but it's tough to pay more for Yaz than some of these other guys that we talked about. Like Yaz is almost the same price as Mike Trout against a lefty. Like it's, I don't know, Houston. Houston kind of fits your build that you've been talking about. They're a little bit more expensive than the Arizona stack, and like if Springer's out, that will free up a cheaper bat like a Tucker or Reddick or somebody. Are they a team you're looking at here?
I mean, I wish Altuve and Bregman were just a little bit cheaper. On DK, they're 5,600 and 5,700. I wish they were like 5,100 and 5,000. That would make it a little bit easier. But I mean, they're going to go overlooked on this slate. I mean, I don't expect the Astros to have much ownership. And if I could get a Reddick or a Tucker leading off and get, and maybe a Maldonado in the mix, because Brantley's up to 4,600 now. Gurriel's up to 4,300. The stack is not cheap. So I think I'm more likely if I play them as, one-offs or 3-mans. But if Tucker leads off, maybe. I mean, do I think they're going to put up enough runs in comparison? I almost would rather play Texas against Justin Dunn. I'd almost rather play the Nationals against Mats. it's not like I don't like the Astros. I just think that they're not as much of a priority in comparison price-wise because of Altuve and Bregman being so expensive.
Padres and Dodgers, Garrett Richards against Dustin May. Any interest here in Garrett Richards?
You don't play righties against the Dodgers.
It's simple math. Like, it's the facts are the facts. Could Richards have a good start? Probably. It's possible. But you look at like his hard hit rate, he's generating no soft contact. You start comparing that to the fly balls and hard contact that the Dodgers hit. Like, they're my top stack on the slate. So we'll get to them in a second. Dustin May is somewhat a little interesting here if we knew he was going to throw deeper into the game. And like, that's your biggest question mark. Like, he went 82. He just pitched against this team, went 82. Does he get 90 here? Like, he profiles really well against this team. And, you know, the same thing was said 6 days ago when he faced this team. Like, what are your thoughts when it comes to Dustin May?
And it was a highly efficient 82 pitches. He pitched 6 innings. So, like, people may look at that and go, well, how do I not play Dustin May 6 innings pitched against the Padres at 7,700? So, I mean, to me, it's if you think he could go to 90, if you told me he was going to pitch 90 pitches, I may want to play May over Gibson.
Yeah.
Right? I would want to play May, probably want to play May over Keuchel because his upside is so much higher. His strikeout upside is higher. Just understand that the Padres are not a bad hitting team anymore, power-wise, and they just saw him. So, like, put that – I mean, this is like the intangibles of they just saw the same pitcher. Like, he may not pitch as well. So I think May is the type of pitcher on this slate. If I see him being owned, I want very little of him. If I see him being little owned, I want a lot more of him.
Yeah, just like kind of digging into the numbers on him. Like, he's averaging 97 miles an hour on his sinker, and this team does not hit sinkers well in general. So, like, he's up almost 2 miles an hour. He was around 96 on average last season. I like him, but I want to see what his ownership's going to look like. I'll play him over Keuchel. I think he has more of a ceiling than Keuchel if we get that random 90-pitch outing. He's super interesting to me on this slate. I think he gets plenty of run support, too. I like the Dodgers a lot. Padres Bats, like, when I'm looking at this, like, these numbers against sinkers, like, I really don't have any interest in these guys on this slate.
Other than Tatis, they're cheap. I think I could play a one-off here.
Yeah.
Trent Grisham is 3,600. Matt Machado's 3,800. Pham's 3,900. Myers is 3,200. Cronenworth is 2,300. I don't know if I stack them up against May, but I mean, I could find a cheap home run here, possibly.
Yeah, I don't mind Gresham. Like, I think he's someone that's hitting the ball really well to start the year, so I don't hate that one. Any love here for the Dodgers?
Well, I know you're going to love them, but I mean,
I do.
The Dodgers fit that bill, like I was talking about with the Rangers and the White Sox, that they're cheap. I mean, I know Betts is 6,100 on DraftKings, but the overall stack price is not bad with Bellinger at 4,900, Peterson at 4,500. If Seager's back in the lineup, that at least fills a shortstop spot. Pollock and Taylor are cheap. They're going to go on. I mean, we see a lot of times that if it weren't for another 1 or 2 games, the Dodgers would be the most owned stack. But there's always 1 or 2 other games that people get attracted to, and the Dodgers come in not low owned, but under owned.
Yeah, the thing that I love about the Dodgers here, like, I'm hoping Edwin Rios cracks the lineup, first of all. Like, he's not everyday player, but I'm hoping he cracks the lineup. And, like, I'm hoping Barnes catches because, like, that's a $2,400 and a $2,700 player to play in my stack. And then I can play Betts. I can play Muncy. I can play Bellinger. I can play Turner. I can play any combination of the Dodgers that I want to play and still be fine to get a good secondary stack and plenty of pitching. So, going to see what the lineup looks like. But I love the Dodgers. Like I said, they're my favorite stack on the slate. I think that this lineup has the ability to outscore any team on any night. And Richards just, the hard hit rate is just so high facing a team that hits the ball hard already. Like this just screams like play the Dodgers. I know, like, didn't Richards just pitch against them and like
Yeah,
he
it's the
pitched
same
a
exact
yeah.
matchup as the last
Yep.
time.
And it was a fine outing. Like they're gonna crush him here. They're gonna crush him here. Athletics and Angels, Sean Manaea, Julio Teheran. Any interest here in Manaea?
He doesn't look right. I'm not paying 8,800 for him.
Yeah, does not like his xFIP looks good. His walk numbers are down. You know, he's pitching efficiently ground ball wise to lefties, but I don't know. Like, where's the upside facing a team that just doesn't strike out against left-handed pitching? I just don't see the upside. I'm gonna pass on him unless we see like a really bad Ward, Adele, Stassi type of lineup where like you're really just fading Trout and Rendon and maybe Pujols. Then like you can probably make a little argument for him, but it really would come down to what the lineup looks like. It has to have the guys down there at the bottom that look bad.
Well, I mean, he's
Blender's,
8,800. If we were talking about he
yeah.
was 7,000, I'd be okay, maybe. But even then, maybe 7,000, I'd be saying maybe 8,800. Get out of here. Teheran at 7,400. Is he going to pitch more than 80 pitches? Even I mean, he pitched like what I think 62 his last outing. I never trusted Teheran when he played for Atlanta. I'm not going to trust him here. The A's have a good lineup. The only problem with the A's bats is that they're way too expensive. The A's have been priced up for the past week for no apparent reason. So that would make me want to play Teheran since I'm not playing the A's, but 7,400 for Teheran. I'll find the 300 and get Dustin May. I'll find the 400 and get Keuchel. I'll find the 1,200 and get Gibson. Hell, I'll find all the money and get Corbin. I'm not going to play Teheran at 7,400 on the slate.
Yeah, he was only built up in spring training 2.0 or whatever summer 2.0, whatever they want to call it. He was only built up to like 60 pitches. So like he wasn't going deep in that Seattle game no matter what. He struggled against Seattle. I think Oakland is a better overall lineup than Seattle is right now, and I don't expect him to go deep. I'm going to pass, but I'm also not going to load up on like the Oakland Bats. Like if you want to play a one-off of like Mark Canha, like he has been crushing the ball this season. Olsen's always an interesting one-off play. Like I could see playing one-offs from both sides. Like Trout's a one-off play, Rendon's a one-off play. You want to play like a two-man of Trout and Rendon. Like I'm not going to talk you off of it. It's just this game is full of like if I end up in that range, one-off or two-man stacks more than like I'm not stacking full stacking either one of these teams.
I agree with you. Like Semion's 5,000, Laureano's 5,200. Like they're just overpriced. I'd rather play Astros. I'd rather play Rangers. I'd rather play Dodgers. It's just that, like, they just if they were priced 10% cheaper, then we could start talking. But, like, yeah, I'm looking at a Matt Olson one-off. I'm looking at a Mike Trout one-off on the other side or Rendon. Like that's about it. I probably don't have much of this game at all.
Yeah, I don't know. This game just screams stay away. Like Trout's a fantastic play. Like he's going to hit a home run against Manaea because that's what he does. But let's play the morning grind game and then we'll get out of here. Looking at DraftKings, give me a guy under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts on the slate.
6 or more strikeouts under 8K. I'm going to go with Dustin May. It runs.
Taking my guy. Shouldn't have hyped him up so much to you. Took my guy.
Who else would I take? What, you going to take Randy Dobnak? No, I'm not taking him.
No, like realistically, like if you're looking for just pure strikeouts, you're probably going with like a Yarbrough. He's probably the next best option to get that many strikeouts in this range. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust at the top? There's not a ton of options.
Manaea easily.
I'm gonna go Hauser. I think McCullers too. Like I don't like either one of those guys. Give me a guy over 4K to hit a home run. Not in Coors.
Not in Coors. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna stay with my Rays. I'm gonna go with Brandon Lowe. Or Lau. I don't know how you pronounce that.
He's going Lau in here. Which Dodger should I pick? Give me the expensive righty. Give me Mookie Betts. Take the lower on Dodger. Give me a guy under 4K to get 2 hits.
Under 4K to get 2 hits. I think I'm still sticking with the Rays. Let's I have so many to choose from.
Which one? All of them.
Give me Yandy Diaz.
All right.
And you're taking Ben Gamble. You're forced to.
Nope. I'm taking Edwin Rios. And if Edwin Rios does not crack the lineup, give me Ben Gamble. Sure,
Okay.
why not? Give me a stack to score 6 or more runs.
Tampa Bay. I'm just doubling down, tripling down. Tampa Bay.
All right, I'm gonna go Dodgers. I gotta make a Tampa Bay Rays Dodgers stack now. Like it's just finish this off here. Anything any over under or any prop?
Tampa Bay, baby. We just triple and quadruple down.
Let's see. I want to see if the line's out for them.
I don't even think it is.
Probably not. Baseball. Let's see. Tampa's line is not out. Yeah, Dodgers are a huge favorite. The Angels are a dog. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Well, I think that the Mania gets respect from bettors for no apparent reason.
Yeah, like I think I'm going to take the Angels money line. Angels -1 or +120. That's an interesting line from night before. I think that moves a little bit. So it's not like Julio Teheran's grid either. So I'll have my sharp side lock. I'm on Grinders Live with Kirk Dees and Dean. I'll have my sharp side lock later in today. So Blender, tell us about your book and then let's get out of here.
Oh, don't sound so excited.
No, I'm always excited. I'm super tired, man. There was 4 NASCAR races in 3 days. I've slept maybe 6 hours this weekend, so I'm ready for bed.
Oh, theoryofdfs.com. If you want to take my audio course, it's like an audio book. It's 15 hours long. A bunch of people on RotoGrinders have already taken it. One of them also is a Bat subscriber. He's taken the course. He's listened to me. He just over the weekend, he split first in the big GPP and MLB for $62,500. So if you want to learn game theory of DFS, not like how to play the sport, but just like the mathematical game theory, cash games, GPPs, whatever, theoryofdfs.com. Go check it out.
All right, that's going to wrap it up here for Monday. Like I said, I'll be on Grinders Live. I think it's at 5:30. Could be wrong, but we'll be back tomorrow talking some more baseball in the morning grind. Hope everyone has an awesome day. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. See you guys tomorrow.